We are starting off this edition with the latest from Kazakhstan, where the violent unrest has been dominating headlines for days. Dozens have been reported dead in the protests. Russian troopers have been sent in to help quell the unrest. For now, the president has rejected any talks with the protesters. He says that he has given orders to shoot to kill without any warning.
Но террористы по-прежнему наносят ущерб государственному и частному имуществу, применяют оружие в отношении граждан. Правоохранительным органам и армии мною дан приказ открывать огонь на поражение без предупреждения. За рубежом.
So how exactly did the situation get so bad in the once stable Central Asian country? The protests first erupted in the oil-rich region over an increase in LPG prices. The unrest then spread to the regional hub of Aqtau. By Tuesday, thousands were furious over the price rise and took to the streets of Almaty, the largest city in the country. The police hit back, firing tear gas and stun grenades. Later, the president imposed a state of emergency, sacking his prime minister and capping the LPG prices for now. But the unrest continued. Internet and mobile phone networks cut out, with the state of emergency extended nationwide. This is where Russia comes in. On Wednesday, the president asked the CSTO, or the Collective Security Treaty Organization, for help. This is an alliance of former Soviet states led by Russia. This is because Kazakhstan is a former Soviet state. It shares a 6,846-kilometer long border with Russia. The country hosts a Russian minority that accounts for 20% of the population. This makes the two neighbors natural allies. Protests of this scale have not been seen in Kazakhstan since the 1980s, which explains the alarm around the world. Kazakhstan is crucial to Central Asia's geopolitical security. It is a country rich in oil and gas, also serving as a key transit route. It has been ruled firmly since Soviet times by the leader Nursultan Nazarbayev. The leader has held on to the reins despite stepping down 3 years ago. Much of the anger on the streets appeared directed at Nazarbayev, with many protesters shouting out, "Old man out." The critics have accused Nazarbayev and his family of staying in control behind the scenes, accumulating vast wealth at the expense of ordinary citizens. But the swift arrival of the Russian troops indicates what this means for the Kremlin. Russia is rapidly deploying forces to safeguard its sphere of influence. Since late 2020, Russia has shored up the leader of Belarus, played a crucial role in the Armenia and Azerbaijan conflict, and amassed troops near Ukraine to the alarm of the West. Last year, during a press conference, Vladimir Putin even said Kazakhstan is a Russian-speaking country in the full sense of the word. For years, Russia and Kazakhstan have shared history and political structures. For Putin, this is another Ukraine-like situation. What if the chaos in the country means it moves closer to the West? What if Russia loses one of its crucial influences in the region? So Moscow has sent in its troops. However, the West remains alarmed by the situation. The US has questioned whether the CSTO troops were legitimately invited, saying that it would be watching for any violations of human rights. Meanwhile, China's President Xi Jinping has praised the strong measures taken against the protesters. For more on these developments, joining us on the broadcast is Mark Sleboda, a foreign affairs expert and security analyst from Moscow. Thanks very much for being here with us. Russia has sent in paratroopers in order to try and quell the uprising in Kazakhstan. Tell us more about what is at stake here for Moscow.
Russia has not sent troops to quell the uprising in Kazakhstan. The president of Kazakhstan Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, has requested from the Collective Security Treaty Organization, of which both Kazakhstan and Russia are members, for help in stabilizing the country during the unrest there. There are some 2,000 Russian peacekeepers as part of the contingent. There are also around 500 Belarusian troops, some 200 from Tajikistan and 100 from Armenia. There will not be participating in activities for dealing either with the armed insurrectionists or with protesters. That is not their mandate nor their mission. What they are there to do is to guard critical government infrastructure and other infrastructure for the country, and basically to provide a morale boost to assure the Kazakh security and military services that will be dealing with the country and retaining order on the streets, that their allies, their treaty allies, have their back.
Right. Mark, the U.S. has questioned the legitimacy of Kazakhstan's request for the peacekeeping forces from Russia. What do you make of that?
The U.S. questioning the legitimacy of the president of Kazakhstan's request under international law is an easy mistake for the United States to make, considering their history in the last 30 years. If we take a look at the U.S. Invasion and military occupation of Serbia, Haiti twice, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, and their participation in the conflict in Yemen. We see in all these locations that the U.S. was not invited by the sovereign leader of these countries, that they were an actual illegal invasion, attack, military occupation, in most cases, of these countries. I'm sure there are some international legal scholars that can correct the U.S. government on this rather egregious deficiency in their understanding of international law and the use of military force, and of requests of legitimate requests by the sovereign leaders of country and treaty allies. I'm sure it can be worked out for them.
Mark Sleboda, appreciate very much joining us on the broadcast with those inputs and perspectives. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.